Hello there, Alaskans, wherever you are. Welcome to the Must Read Alaska Show. Coming to you from somewhere in Alaska. This is the place where we talk about, you guessed it, Alaska. Where we keep the mainstream media on their toes and where we are standing up for what's right in a world run by leftists. You can find out more by heading over to mustreadalaska.com and also checking out the Must Read Alaska YouTube channel for some really great content. But first, let's get this party started.
Welcome, everybody, to the Must Read Alaska Show. I'm your host, John Quick, coming to you live from somewhere in Alaska. And I am coming to you from snowy Kenai Peninsula. We've gotten snow the last couple of days, and we're about snowed out here. We're ready for the sun. I can't imagine probably everybody else in Alaska is about on the same page as I am with the snow. So we're excited for the spring to get here and have maybe a week's worth of spring and then have summer hit us. So we hope everybody's having an awesome morning in Alaska. Elections just happened yesterday in Anchorage. And, we want to thank everybody that listens, watches, and reads Must Read Alaska. If you really like Must Read Alaska and you want to help keep the lights on here at Must Read Alaska, you can go to mustreadalaska.com. On the right-hand side there, there's a little donate button that you can click on to help keep the lights on. Every $5, $10, $100 donation helps. We are not funded by some nonprofit conglomerate. We're funded by just everyday folks that care about the conservative side of news. And we want to thank our show sponsor, which is very exciting for us, the University of Alaska, for sponsoring the show. And you can find out more about them and their initiative at empower.alaska.edu. We'll put a link in the description too for you to go check out. But we just are so grateful for our sponsor, the University of Alaska, for sponsoring the Must Read Alaska show. But without further ado, I want to welcome our guest to the Must Read Alaska show, Mayor Bronson from the great city of Anchorage. Mayor, welcome to the Must Read Alaska show.
John and all listeners at Must Read, thank you very much for the opportunity. Glad to talk to you. Very glad.
Well, our folks are super appreciative of you and what you're doing in Anchorage, and know that, man, it's a battle sometimes, and they see that battle during the assembly meetings and in the news. But in the midst of all that battle, I know that you're doing some great work. And so I'd love to talk about some of these cool things that are happening in Anchorage. Talk to me about, I saw a post recently about that the mayor has community grants. So tell us about what those are and how somebody could take part in those, and give us the scoop.
Well, yeah, it is a grant program. It comes through the mayor's office, through my office. We give out grants usually in that $5,000, $10,000, $50,000 range. They're grants for worthy causes. We hit all kinds of subject matters we support the police department, some of their special operations groups. We support homeless endeavors. We support nonprofits. And that application window is open. You can go to muni.org and go to that, go through the mayor's page, and go to the community grants section there, and we're processing them and hope to get that money out the door. That's
awesome. So this is real money happening for folks in Anchorage that have maybe a nonprofit or something that they're doing around the city of Anchorage that's probably benefiting Anchorage. They can go onto your website right now and apply. Right. And and we've hit all kinds. It's a cross section of Anchorage. We're trying to do as much good with the limited amount of money as we can. And I can't remember the amount we put out last year, but it was pretty significant. And we think we did some real good things with that money. That's awesome. Well, another good thing I think that I just saw as well is you guys just had a very, very successful job fair. I think it was your first one of many, or maybe it might have been your second one of many. Talk to me about that job fair and why you think it was so successful. Well, we've had a series we have a job fair program through my office. It's actually, we've had a series. We're kind of focusing on high schools, and we're trying to look at bringing on those
young folks who are about to graduate and are interested possibly in a job with the municipality. The municipality has got some quite a few unfilled positions, especially in places like good startup jobs, or I shouldn't say beginning jobs for folks like in Parks and Recs that pay well, and they're either part-time or full-time jobs, and it's a way to kind of get your foot in the door, build some job experience. We at Parks and Recs, we've got a lot of unfilled positions, especially for the summer coming up, and we want to do that. When we have these job fairs, they include, I mean, all of our departments, you know, police and fire, but we also, there's military recruiters are there. I was just at one in Chugiak here a couple days ago. It went very well, and the kids would come in, and it's a way to keep our kids in the city, in the state, instead of always moving out and moving away. You know, I'm 50-50. I've got one, my son stayed, but my daughter left, and we would like more of our kids to stay in Anchorage and Alaska when they graduate.
So there's got to be something special about going to where these people are, as opposed to making them go online, you know, or some other place that maybe they're not familiar with to apply for a job. You're literally physically showing up in their neighborhood.
Right.
You think that's part of the success?
Yeah, I think it is. We like I say, we really want to keep our kids here. And when you go in, when I go in, when my staff goes in, my department heads or the recruiters within the departments go in, it puts a face on the city. You know, it makes a personal touch, and that's what we want to do. And say so that the municipality, government, local government is not some abstract thing out there that you don't understand. All of a sudden, you get a young 17, 18-year-old that's graduating, and they say, well, I met so-and-so, Mr. Smith or Mrs. Johnson, and they wanted me to come and work for the police department or the fire department or Parks and Recs or something like that. And I think that's that softer touch to more human touch to recruiting, I think serves us well.
So talk to me about the Sullivan Arena one, because I think that's pretty cool. You guys ended up hiring, you had a job fair at the Sullivan Arena where you ended up hiring a bunch of folks, right?
Yeah, is what we did is a couple weeks ago we had a job fair at the Sullivan Arena for the folks that are staying there, and we interviewed at overall. There was a second site, homeless shelter site that we interviewed at. We interviewed 101 people. We made 41 contingent job offers, and I was just notified yesterday that we've actually hired 32. So that's 32 people who were previously or who were homeless, you know, without jobs. We gave them jobs. So that's a hand up on their way to returning to success as citizens. And it solves our problem too. In that it brings people on board that are willing to work for Parks and Recs. So yeah, home run success. We're glad we did it, and we're going to keep pressing on.
Well, I think that's pretty amazing, because I think unlike any other, you know, big city around the lower 48 that has a homeless problem, you guys are going about it differently. I mean, I've been to some of these cities as I travel, and I see the homeless problems, and man, I got to tell you folks that maybe don't want to hear about homeless anymore, or just think that, you know, it's something that they don't want to think about. I've been to the Sullivan Arena a couple months ago. It is one of the most organized homeless shelters I've ever seen in my life. You couldn't find a piece of garbage in the Sullivan Arena. You could hear a pin drop, because the folks that lived there treated it like a home. And
right.
And now you're giving folks jobs to then potentially, you know, make a way for themselves to, you know, get their own place and those kinds of things. And I think that this recipe should be looked at as a national case for success. And it's just dumbfounding to me that the assembly, you know, you tell them the sky's blue and they tell you the sky's red. And so I hope that they come around. I hope that they stop politicking and see some of the successes, but that's up to them. We can't control them, as you know. But I think that you hold your head high, because hiring 30 something people that are living at the Sullivan Arena and the other homeless shelter, man, that is only going to do good for them in their life and help them to get on their right path. So nice work, Mayor.
Right. Well, and let's not forget too, is that before we had these job fairs, Henning Inc., who's operating the Sullivan, and that's the secret to any homeless endeavor, is that who operates it and how they operate. You could have a fantastic, perfect site, building, whatever, and if you operate a poorly, you're going to have very poor outcomes. But you could also, likewise, you could have a very poor building, which the Sullivan is a very poor building for homeless operations. But if you operate it well, you can have very good outcomes. And at Sullivan now, with Henning running, we've got very good outcomes. But the Sullivan is going to go back to hockey business. It's a venue for entertainment, for concerts and sporting shows and hockey, and it's going to go back to that. That's what it's designed for. And by and large, the city is doing fairly well in partnership with the nonprofits on taking care of homeless. It may not seem like that. The component we're missing is the shelter component, and the Sullivan fit that role. But we need more space. We need more beds, and for the shelter component, and that's not the hotel conversions, and that's not what we need. We need to just get the people off the street, and I've initiated an effort here starting in May 1st, that we're going to create a team of several Anchorage departments, including Downtown Partnership, which isn't a department. And this will be a team of 10 people, and two-person teams from police, from health department, parks and recs, community patrol, and others. And we're gonna focus on downtown. We're gonna clean up downtown, and we're just gonna say, hey, this is where you can't be. You can't be living on the street downtown. And then as we get to the shelter component, get that completed somehow. I'm looking forward here to working with the assembly on that. Is get to a solution on that shelter component. People need to understand we've got 3,000 people that are supported, roughly, homeless people, but we've got that last few hundred that create the most of the problems, and we're going to get to a solution on that if we can get a site stood up. That's good for the community. And so Henning, what they do in one of their methods of success is that if you're in one of their facilities, if you do a really good job, you wind up getting hired. Henning has hired a couple dozen people to manage their facilities that were homeless, and then they wind up in getting a housing voucher for support. Their behavior is not a problem. I've met these people. I've had lunch with them at the Sully, and these are just people who just needed a turnaround in their life. They got it, and now they're contributing, and they're the best folks to work in this sector of homelessness, is because they just got out of it and they lived it. And so yeah, we're encouraged, but we've got a lot to do, a lot yet to do in that whole space.
Well, Godspeed to you, because it's it's such a big task and something that seems to not easily go away. So we wish you nothing but success for that. But let's turn the pages for a second and talk about tell us what is exciting for downtown Anchorage. I know that you and your team have been working diligently on economic development. I think that's one of the main reasons that I talked to, my friend that voted for you in office, was they were excited to get a mayor that was pro-business and excited to kind of, get cranes back up in Anchorage to be businesses. So talk to us a little bit about business development and how's that going?
It's going well. We've got Block 41, which is an entire downtown city block. That was where the Fourth Avenue Theater was. That's where the old Key Bank building was, and that's finishing. That entire block, every square foot of it, is going to be brand new, and it's going to have hotel. It's going to have retail space. It's going to have um, living space from all the way from apartments to hotels to condominiums. And it's our vision is that downtown gets to be a place where people actually want to live, not just visit. Of course, we've got some challenges down there on the homeless side of things, but once we get there, we need a very vibrant downtown. My thought is, if you don't have a vibrant downtown, you really don't have a city. You just have a collection of neighborhoods, and we seem to have drifted that way as people move from the more urban, closer to downtown, to south and west and the Eagle River for living space. We need people. There's people, especially younger people, want to live in that more urban environment. We've got to provide that for them, and that feeds that development machine. When people want to live somewhere, well, then we need we need retail space, we need hotels, we need restaurants and condominiums, and that's what we're going to. We look at the success that downtown Minneapolis had when they built their skywalk system. I mean, and I've spent a lot of time there. I grew up in that area, where you could go to in a hotel and walk out of your room in the middle of winter, never go outside. You could see a show, you could eat dinner, you could go out for coffee, all those things. And in an Arctic environment, that's that thing that we need. And we're gonna work on that. We would love to have someone in the new Block 41 hotel be able to walk out of their room and go to the Pack and go to a show, go to a restaurant. And we've got a bunch of Broadway shows coming into the Pack this next year. We want people to see them. We want people to travel to Anchorage from Alaska and from the lower 48 just to see a Broadway show. And see, once you start generating that economic activity, it feeds on itself and it keeps growing. And that's the positive vision we really need to cultivate for especially for downtown Anchorage right now.
So do you and your team have a positive look for the economy for Anchorage over the next couple of years?
Yeah, there's always challenges, but we need to rethink how we do a downtown. Like I was just saying, we have to build. We have to have people want to be in that place. We can't have everybody spend all their time out in the suburbs because they're trying to avoid downtown. Again, that homeless component. We've got the Mushing District coming online. That's going to be, starting at 4th and E area, and then evolving, developing east and west from there. That's going to create a marketing district like a Chinatown or the Mission District or something like that. And then, really it's government's job to come in and make sure that area downtown is safe and clean and hospitable, and we've got our plants up. We're working on them. We have to manage it. That's one of those jobs government does, public safety. So when we do that, if it's all hands on deck and everybody pulls together and does their job, then we can get to that target that we're seeking, which is a very vibrant downtown. Block 41 is part of that. We've got some other projects that are trying to come online, building more hotel and living space. We're kind of restricted from talking about them as they're in that financing / development phase.
Yeah.
But we've got, I'm very hopeful for downtown Anchorage. I'm very hopeful for Anchorage, but the good thing is the population decline that we've seen since 2012 has bottomed out, and we're kind of hovering there, turning that corner to come back up. But the cost of housing I'm just telling you, economically, that's a big problem for us. The cost of housing in Anchorage especially is very problematic because we're not building enough homes. We're simply, and when I mean homes, I mean a single family, multifamily apartment buildings, and we have got to get that back going. And that's a tough nut to crack. It really is, because with rising interest rates, the developers don't want to build spec homes. They want to build only pre-sold, and the supply is really tight right now, very tight, and we need to change that.
So we just had an election. We got a couple more minutes here. We just had an election yesterday, and any thoughts on the election? I know that there was school board and assembly up. Do you have any thoughts? As I don't think the election's officially, results are been officially stamped, but we can kind of tell and gauge from here, I think.
Yeah, I think we can tell. It's like any election. The voters have spoken. They choose the government that they want, and then it's up to the people who they employ, that is the elected officials, and to manage and run and develop a city that the electorate wants, and then that's what I'll do. I have to say, I don't think the elections turned out quite as well as I thought, but it is what it is. Our job is to work for the taxpayer, for the voter, do our jobs, and move the city forward as best we can. And I look forward to that. I think we're going to do a good job. I look forward again to working with the assembly, especially on the things that we can agree on, which is the majority of things. And then just move the city forward, making it a great place. We want people to live here. We want our younger people to move back here, and that's what we have to focus on. Because if you don't have young people staying or moving into your city, that's your seed corn. You're in trouble as a city, and we've got to fix that trend.
Yeah, and for the folks out there that ran for an election and lost, I want to just encourage folks. There's so many other ways to get involved. You don't necessarily have to be on the assembly or on a city council or on a school board to make a difference, or be the mayor to make a difference. You can be a volunteer. You can be on a board and commission. You can just help with no title. There's so many, different things that folks can do to help out. And I'm sure that the list of folks that didn't win are already doing that, but I would encourage them to keep doing that, because oftentimes the city or that you live in, or the borough that you live in, has way bigger needs than just what the elected officials can do. So
and so it's what I tell people: just get educated, get involved, and then get engaged. And what you're talking about is that engagement level. Where do you engage? And it's in your community councils, and it's not always in elected office. In fact, the vast majority of the work being done is by those unelected officials. Yep. So yeah, we just keep moving forward. That's what we have to do, and do what's best for the city in the long term and in the short term. We've got some challenges, but we'll meet them head on and move the city forward.
I like it. Well, you have any last minute thoughts, Mayor, before we head off here?
No, I woke up to a light snow dusting, I guess. So that up here in Anchorage, I know down there, you were saying you didn't. I'm kind of tired of winter too. I'm tired of the snow. I'd even take a very in-depth breakup right now over this. So as we move into spring, this was one of the highest snowfall seasons we've ever had, and it's been a challenge, and we're just. Somebody told me if we get 2 more inches, we'll be at 100 inches, and that'll be a record year. I don't know if that's true. I was just told that the other day, and then it's been challenged. We have no place to store our snow. Our snow dumps are just about full, and as I look out at my cul-de-sac, I've got this monster pile of snow that's been there since mid-December. And yeah, I'd like that to go away.
Well, thanks so much, Mayor, for joining us. You're making a difference. Keep up the good work, and just know that folks are the folks that voted you in, at least folks that I know that voted you in, are very happy you're there, and they know that you are in a fight sometimes, but it's all for the good of the city. And I just want to encourage you to keep trekking along. You got a great team, folks like Junior and stuff like that, who are just making such a big impact. And so, kudos to you and your team, and we wish you nothing but success over the summer. I'm sure it's going to be a fun summer, and you're welcome back on anytime to the Must Read Alaska show.
Great. Thanks for the opportunity, John, really do. And at Must Read who are listening, really appreciate your organization, and I read Must Read every day.
Awesome. Well, until next time, I'm John Quick from somewhere in Alaska.